You are listening to Letters from a Father to His Daughter. Jawaharlal Nehru wrote these letters to his daughter Indira from the confines of prison. I am your host Giribala Joshi. In the previous letter, Nehru explained how the early humans developed religion and the concept of division of labor. In today's letter, he further explores that concept and its evolution through history. Letter 14. The changes brought about by agriculture. In my last letter, I told you something about the division of labor. Right at the beginning, when men used to live by hunting only, there was very little division of work. Everybody hunted, and he could with difficulty get enough to eat. The division of work or labor must have begun between men and women, the man hunting and the women staying at home and looking after the children and domestic animals. When people learned about agriculture, many new developments took place. There was firstly a greater division of labor. Some people hunted, others looked after the fields and plowed. Then again, as the time went on, people learned new trades and specialized in them. Another interesting result of tilling land was that men began to settle down in villages and towns. Before agriculture came, people used to wander about and hunt. It was not necessary for them to live in one place. They could hunt wherever they went. And often they had to move about from place to place because of the cows and sheep and other animals they had. These animals required pasture lands where they could graze. After grazing in one place for some time, the land did not produce enough for the cattle, and so the whole tribe had to move to another place. When agriculture came, people had to stay near the land. They could not leave the land they had plowed and sown, and so they worked there from harvest to harvest, and villages and towns grew up. Another great change that agriculture brought about was to make life easier. It was far simpler to grow food on the land by agriculture than to hunt all the time. The land also gave more food than could be eaten up at once. This was kept carefully. Now let us note an interesting development. When man was a hunter pure and simple, he could not hoard anything, or at any rate very little. He had to live, as they say, from hand to mouth. He had no banks where he could keep his money or other goods. He had to earn his food every day by hunting. With the coming of the agriculture, he got more from the land at one time than could be used. He hoarded up this surplus or extra food. Here we find the beginnings of surplus food. People got this surplus food because they worked a little more than was quite necessary for them to produce just sufficient food. You know that now we have banks, and people deposit money there and draw it out by checks. Where does this money come from? If you think about it, you will see that this money is all surplus. That is, people do not want to spend it all at one time, and so they keep it in banks. The rich people today are those who have plenty of this surplus. The poor have none at all. Later, you will see how this surplus comes. It is not so much because one person works more than another, but nowadays a person who does not work at all gets the surplus, while the hard worker often gets no part of it. This seems very silly arrangement. Many people think that it is because of this stupid arrangement that there are so many poor people in the world. This may seem a little difficult for you to understand now. If so, do not trouble yourself about it. You will understand it soon enough. At present, I should only like you to note that agriculture resulted in producing much more than could be eaten up at once. This was hoarded up. In those days there were no banks or money. People were called rich who had many cows or sheep or camels or grain. End of letter 14. In the next letter, Nehru writes about the origin of patriarchy. On this channel, you will find several interesting videos related to Nehru. Please like my videos so that fact-based historical knowledge can reach even more people. I am Giribala Joshi. Thank you for tuning in.